Good evening, everybody. This is Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com here for the post-Raw show, the biggest post-Raw show of the year because it's the biggest Raw of the year, the Raw after WrestleMania. And if you weren't burned out by 7 hours of wrestling and you can survive 3 more hours and hang out with us, your 10th hour of wrestling, my hat's off to you. Kudos to you.
You should have given prizes for today.
We should have. Yes,
Yeah.
I am joined here by my wife, Victoria. Over
It's
here.
my birthday.
It's Victoria's birthday, by the way.
Thank you, everybody, in the live chat last night for the birthday wishes. It was very sweet.
Yes, very, very sweet. But to give you a little incentive today to join us on the post-Raw show, we have to bring in some big guests, okay? You know that, Victoria. We just have to do this, okay?
Absolutely.
And it doesn't get any bigger, number one, than the man who has his own website that directs you to message boards, Paul Nemer, the owner of paulnemer.com. Paul, how are you, sir?
To the message boards. That's hilarious. I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. And just to add even more incentive, it just so happens Adam just decided today. We had no clue this was happening for weeks. Adam just decided today that he's leaving Wrestleview. So we have him on the show tonight as well. A big scoop for the post-Raw show. Adam Martin, the editor-in-chief for the next 32 minutes of Wrestleview.com.
Well, I'm on Central Standard Time, so it's 1 hour. It's an hour and a half for me, but I still have a little bit more time.
Yeah. Nobody cares about Central Time, Adam.
Nobody does. No, they don't.
Eastern Time rules.
It works great for watching WrestleMania because then it wasn't as late for Doug and Roy. But for me, it was great. I actually got to bed at a sort of decent time, but. Thank you for having me on the post-Row show. And did I call it the post-Row show? It's the post-Raw show. I did. I caught myself, though. And no, I did not tell everybody today. Mike's just being rude. They all had a well advance of this. But I did tell some people, but I didn't want to. We were going to say something at the end of the WrestleMania show last night, but I didn't want it to be super distracting. So I thought
I saw that and I was scared that you were going to screw up my scoop and screw up our show tonight.
I know. So. I decided not to do that. So I just waited and I'm not dying or anything. So it's a bummer obviously, but life goes on, everybody. We'll be all right.
And we'll talk about that later. But for now, we're going to do what we always do. We're going to talk about a wrestling show because that's the purpose of this show. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're all good at here. So we'll talk about all the sentimental, mushy-gushy stuff later on. But for now, let's talk about Raw. This was the post-Raw show, which is always an interesting show, I guess you could say. 3 hours long. On the nose, thank God they finally got rid of that overrun, so it didn't go any longer than that. Yeah. And currently right now I have somebody just told me who's live at the show, it would be Mr. Billy Hefner, that they are doing a goodbye party for Dean Ambrose in the ring right now with Roman and Dean and Seth Rollins.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I almost wish that they would show that. Sometimes after the Raw, after WrestleMania, what they'll do is they'll send you over to the network to catch a little bit of the extra stuff.
What's going on afterwards?
Right, like a couple of years ago they did Sting, then they did Goldberg. They have a couple things that go on, but not this year. So we'll have to catch it on. I'm sure WWE will release something tomorrow, but we'll have to catch it on fan cam, until then. But as far as post-Raw shows go, I thought this is one of the better ones. We'll talk about it obviously in detail. It didn't feel like 3 hours to me. So that was something that I was eternally grateful for.
No, it definitely did not, actually.
So let's just jump right into it. The very first thing we get is Seth Rollins coming out, and he does, the whole, I hate I don't know about you guys. I don't know about you, Paul and Adam, but I hate the "You Deserve a Chant" with that.
It's very cliche.
You deserve it.
Yeah.
You deserve it.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable. I don't like it either.
Stupid marks.
I know.
Stupid mark. It's I think people feel like they have to chant it because of, and now granted, he's been building this up in media of kind of trashing Brock Lesnar, where he's been, talking about him being a part-timer and he doesn't think that Brock deserves the title. So, I mean, he's been planting the seed for a while, but the reaction is just cliche post WrestleMania, whenever someone becomes champion. So I agree with you. It's very cringy.
Yeah, it's cringy, especially like I go back to like a month ago when Sasha Banks and Bayley won the titles, and everybody was like, "Cool, we have titles now." And then they go out to the ring and they try to do this triumphant, "Hey, we did it! We finally did it! Equality! We got tag team titles!" And not knowing that like WWE doesn't know how to book a tag team anymore, and tag team titles mean nothing for either gender. But they were sitting around, and there's Sasha Banks waiting for the "You deserve it" chant. And some schmuck in the crowd finally started doing it.
It's like almost I feel like the fans feel like it's an obligatory chant. Like you just have to do it after, there's some sort of big change,
Yeah. You need to get back. You need to get into the shot a little more. There we go. There. We're just looking
you're gonna get a little close to Mikey a little bit there. Don't be shy, Victoria. Yeah,
she doesn't like me much anymore. That was her birthday gift. Was
Victoria's face right now is hilarious.
Yeah, sorry guys. It's like, oh gosh.
Shows off the rails already.
Oh man, it's an entertaining show. Don't call it that.
No, we're well off the rails here. But Rollins talks about his victory, and we did it, Brooklyn, we did it. So that happened, and what we get is Kofi Kingston coming out. We get the New Day, which was a really nice shot.
Yeah, it was like a very good little...
it kind of reminded me of WrestleMania last night, starting off red hot, Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar. That was a really great match and a really great way to kick off the show. And now they get in the ring, and Kofi Kingston basically says, we need to do a winner take all match. I love what the women did last night. We should do it as well. And so they book the main event's going to be winner take all, WWE champion versus Universal champion. Immediately in my mind, I'm like, no, probably not.
Well, I think a lot of people knew that wasn't actually going to happen. The match obviously was going to happen, but the actual possibility of Kofi or Seth Rollins actually taking both titles was very slim. I would have liked to see something like that. I want Kofi to have it for a little bit, but still, like that would have been really cool. Right.
Well, fast forward, because I don't want to spend too much time talking because it wound up being a dud of a concept.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Adam. You're saying something?
I thought this show, in terms of, and again, I know you guys break it down from start to finish, but from pure, and I was surprised. This is, again, I said this last night, where we're just on two different wavelengths. I thought this show was terrible tonight, to be honest with you. Last year's post Raw show was so good from start to finish. I think there was like kind of one segment that was a little iffy, and I don't know if I'm being too much of a homer for, talent debuting or talent showing up that I wasn't expecting. And we did kind of get that a little bit with Sami Zayn. We kind of, we got that with the Undertaker. We got kind of some of that. But last year just seemed, from a pacing perspective, the matches tonight were very dull. It felt like they've built this up to be such an important episode. And I know they have the Superstar Shakeup next week. I don't believe last year, did they do it this close in proximity, or did they did they do it this close in proximity last year?
It was the week after. Yep.
Okay.
They wanted to try to ride the tide.
I don't know what it was tonight, and maybe I'm alone on an island with this, but I thought this show stunk. I was, the opening had like a really cool vibe with Seth and Kofi, and then they were building to that main event. And I agree with Victoria that they were probably, it wasn't going to end up being anything. I would love to see the concept be territories now, which is what Triple H was kind of laying out with NXT, where you have the NXT women's tag team titles going to all the different brands. You could do that, with other titles and bring them to the NXT. Same thing with the world title. I was a big proponent of doing that with the tag titles in this company. I have no idea why they have Raw and SmackDown tag team champions when they barely have enough tag teams to fill out those two divisions for those two shows. And I wouldn't be totally against it for the world titles. I mean, they've been really trying to hammer home the brand split stuff, but I don't know if you guys listened to Triple H on Fox Sports this week, but he made it seem like as soon as SmackDown goes to Fox, like everything in this company's changing, unless he just really was overblowing that a little bit too much.
No, he actually mentioned that, Adam. It's interesting that you said that, but when we listened in on the conference after NXT, he was alluding to that as well. So I think they are almost like trying to, like do away with it, almost. Like with this whole brand split idea.
Well, it's in my view, it's like if you're going to go to Fox, you want to load it up with as much talent as possible, and I think a brand split kind of limits you on, what superstars you can have and where. I kind of get the feeling that they're going to start unifying titles sooner than later.
I know that probably just bothered Paul that I decided to have more than one Triple H reference there, but he's the person driving. He's driving the boat. Paul, you guys share the same name too. Does that bother you as well?
I give that comment a 4 on 10.
But he's driving this new territory system, I've noticed, and not only he's pushing it in NXT, but I feel like that's going to trickle to the main roster a little bit. Do you agree with that?
Definitely.
Look, I think by them even just moving to SmackDown, moving to Fridays, I think that's just going to make that SmackDown show not just the B show, they're going to make it like the D show. And by them solidifying whatever, unifying some titles like they did last night, I don't know, dude. I think not the pressure, but the fun is going to be just on Raw. SmackDown's just going to take a back seat now.
I totally disagree with that. I think SmackDown's going to become more important than Raw because it's going to be on a broadcast network.
Okay, but why Friday?
Network.
Who's going to tune in Friday night? Half the people are out.
True, but I mean, UFC draws good ratings on a Saturday, and you could say the same thing about Saturday too. So I mean, it depends. I mean, it could crash and burn.
Well, I think with UFC, they kind of make their stuff like must see events,
yes.
And you can kind of plan like your entire night around a UFC event. You can get together with the boys or your friends or whatever it is, I'm sure because women like UFC too. I don't want to exclude a gender here, but excuse me. I'm trying to be as gender friendly as I possibly can.
Okay.
As politically correct as you can be.
I love Victoria reactions off to the side. I wish I want to have like the full 4-panel shot when they can see Victoria's face right now. I need to leave it on the 4-panel shot. No, the SmackDown thing is interesting to me because it's been the B show, but the way Triple H is talking about it, it's not going to be the B show anymore because of where it's going to be. They've had broadcast exposure on NBC with Saturday night's main event, the occasional specials, but they've never been. Were you recapping SmackDown, Mike, during the UPN My Network TV?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I was. I started then, and the ratings were solid for
more than Raw.
Way more than Raw, but it never got the attention that Raw did. It never got loaded up because it was just kind of like a built-in audience. Like the same people were going to tune in all the time. And how many were they averaging at the time, Adam? Do you remember?
I could look it up, but I know at one point they were averaging around 5 to 6 million, maybe a little bit more every week on UPN. I think it trickled down a little bit when UPN became My Network TV, and then eventually they left My Network TV and they went to it was another syndicated.
Sci-fi.
Was it? Well, it was before Sci-Fi. There was another random kind of like syndicated channel that everyone would get around the country.
Channel 11.
It was like a CW affiliate. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, CW. Okay.
Like CW or something like that. But and I remember listening to Paul Heyman talk about this when he got the book for SmackDown, which I'm really going really far back. But he always talked about how they would kick Raw's ass in the ratings, but he just openly described SmackDown as Raw's bitch, and that no matter what he did, how good he made that show, it was always going to be the bitch of that company because of how Raw is being kind of put on a pedestal. But I don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. I could be overstating this based on what Triple H said, but he made it sound like it's going to be like the flagship show.
Well, Paul Levesque is certainly not going to come out and say, well, it's SmackDown. It's still going to be SmackDown even on Fox. They have to say, and even when they moved to My Network TV, they came out with a big show and they started doing some big angles, and then it kind of tapers away again. It's kind of like when they open up a new show, like Main Event started off with like Randy Orton used to be on Main Event, and now it's like Main Event. What is that?
I think we're going to get like a solid year or two where SmackDown is going to have a lot of attention towards it. And then it will try to trickle down.
Yeah, I got to agree with Paul. I just don't think it's. I just think it's going to be Raw's going to be the bigger show still.
What worries me is, and everybody's saying this is temporary for, SmackDown being on Fridays. But I know they're going to do so bad, even if they put on an A show, it's going to be bad because of the ratings. So do you actually think by SmackDown doing bad in ratings on Friday nights, because it is Friday nights, even though they're putting on a great A show, that Fox will move SmackDown, a low rating SmackDown, to like a Tuesday night? I don't think so.
I don't know, and I don't know what their aspirations are with that show. That's what's hard is I've tried to dissect and interpret what these executives have said, and they seem very the fact that they sat in a room across the table from Rupert Murdoch, and Rupert Murdoch was chastising NBC Universal about how bad they've been handling SmackDown, tells me that he would. But again, a lot of these networks get excited. They see numbers, they see the attention, they think, oh, let's just throw all this money at this entity and get this licensing deal, and let's get this thing going. And then you're right, maybe it doesn't end up drawing the audience that because they see that the audience the show's been drawing on cable, and if they can average, the thing is, I think success wise, if they can get 2 million on a Friday night on broadcast, that's doing pretty good, because a lot of people do not watch live television unless it's like a sport, and Fox is trying to kind of tap into that a little bit by tapping into the NFL and the Major League Baseball and the NBA stuff, and the UFC. I mean, they decided to not re-sign the UFC, and now the UFC has this insanely lucrative deal with ESPN now. But I feel like that's where they see the difference, and they're trying to tap into that market of that's the remaining demographic that is still tuning in to live content and isn't waiting for stuff to show up on YouTube.
And it's steady, it's consistent. Like you're saying, like most of these networks, with unplugging, with streaming services, there's a million different options to consume content out there, and networks are looking for shows that will have a steady audience. No matter how bad SmackDown gets, if it does get bad on Fox, people are still going to tune in to watch anyway, because it's wrestling. And honestly, until AEW announces their TV deal, if they ever do, they're the only wrestling show on television.
I don't think we'll ever have the opportunity to move, just because they have a lot of the other shows that already have a built-in fan base that are very successful on the other nights of the week. So I think even if you had like skyrocketing numbers, the fact that if a Friday show is successful, they'll just kind of keep it the way it is.
Well, Paulie, what would be bad numbers for you on SmackDown?
Less than what they're doing now. I would give it 1 point. Anything below 1.8 would be very bad for me.
I don't think they'll do 1.8. I don't think they'll ever do that bad on network, just because some people only have network stuff, so it's like you're gonna get a whole bunch of people at least just tuning in out of curiosity. I don't know if they'll ever go that low.
No, because here's what's gonna happen. Like I said, it's Friday night, so a lot of people will be out. And those guys are going to tape SmackDown.
But they do have the advantage, the added advantage of wrestling fans being mostly virgin cretins that don't go out.
They do.
Yeah, but those ones that don't go out, that stay on their fucking Xbox all night, they're going to tape SmackDown. It's a Friday night for them. They're going to like chill with a couple of their friends.
What about like when you guys go to bars though? What do they have on television? Sports, and what channels do they have on? CBS, NBC, Fox, Fox Sports 1, ESPN, like that. I'm not saying people are going to go to a bar and watch SmackDown, but I'm just saying like it's broadcast network, and they're going to be getting. Don't forget, they're going to be getting plugs during the NFL. I mean, that is the most watched entity on broadcast television consistently. Now, I know that's for just a part of the year, but they're debuting in October. What's happening in October? In addition to baseball coverage, what also is taking place? Football. So they're going to get I think where Paul's point is valid is once it hits January and the playoffs are done and the Super Bowl's over with and you have no real sports really taking place of significance, that's where it's going to be a struggle, and that's where they might switch it. But I don't know. I Doug in the chat said Last Man Standing on Fox at 6.1 million was the number one rated show for Friday nights, and they're actually pulling that Last Man Standing show off of Friday nights. They're taking the whole comedy block and I think pushing it to another night, and then Friday night's going to be WWE night, sports night. It's going to be very sports kind of. I know I hate using that word with wrestling, but that's the idea. That's the pitch.
And honestly, as much as people say that like Vince McMahon is like insane and he's dementia and he's dying, you should just die already. They've done a great job of over the years, and it's taken a long time, but over the years they've done a really good job of kind of reinventing the image of this company to the point where sponsors aren't embarrassed to put their name on their shows. They've had sponsors from K Jewelers to Hyundai to Dan's. What was it? Danzen was doing NXT the other night, where they were sponsoring that show.
DAZN, yeah, that's a mixed martial arts boxing streaming company.
Right. So that's another kind of another entity that's not embarrassed to like put their logo on a wrestling broadcast. So they've done a really good job of kind of reinventing their image. Now it almost seems like they have to reinvent their image again and go more of an actual simulated sports contest. They've kind of gotten away from that. It's kind of gotten hokey, and wins don't mean anything. Maybe if they move to Fox, maybe they'll start making giving the show a little more focus, in terms of the actual wrestling aspect of it. If you're talking about putting the show on sports bars and stuff like that, that would be a really awesome kind of demographic that they aren't really catching with. Because if I tell my brother that I'm watching wrestling, he's like, "Oh, cool, wrestling. Yeah, I remember we used to watch that when we were kids, Mike." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like I watch big boy sports now." Shut up, Mark.
Yeah.
But okay, I love that.
Shut up, alone.
I love it. Shut up, Mark. I love that Mike just had like a fight on the air with his brother. Shut up, Mark, and then.
And mind you, Mark's awesome. So
Mark's great.
Good.
You're rude.
Good job, Mike.
You're a loser, Mike, for watching wrestling.
Tell me about it.
Yes.
I'm the bigger loser of owning that website.
You own a website, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
Full loser.
The big four, the biggest losers on this show right now.
There you go. Paul's a loser, everybody.
Well, only 3 or 4 of us are losers. Adam finally woke up and was like, "Getting the hell out of here."
I'm doing the old Homer Simpson walk backwards into the bush tonight. So yeah.
Oh my God, I'm seeing in the chat. Mark is awesome stuff. Okay. Well, and I gotta tell you, I felt like a loser after the main event with the winner take all. I was kind of excited that they're trying to get back into Raw now a little bit.
I tweeted. I asked if this was like them messing with us, like because they do this, they'll mess with you. And then they'll end it with like a big surprise. But then I remembered there's no overrun and they got a couple minutes left. So what are they doing? And they had Kofi Kingston and Seth Rollins team up and beat the Bar.
Actually, no. They had more than a couple of minutes left from what I saw anyway.
Okay. How rude.
A lot more.
Roy's being super rude in the chat, by the way, Paul. You need to go smack him. That was a good line, Roy. So how many minutes were actually left though with that tag?
There was, I think, a good 9 minutes left.
Okay.
Oh, for the tag main event.
Well, they left. Yeah, they left enough for. I thought the main event was just going to go long, and then they closed it and had time for the tag. But, Mike, you really thought this was a good show? Seriously?
No, I thought it was a good show up until that. I honestly like and a lot of how Raw ends is kind of how our poll goes. So like I can think that a Raw was good, but people will say, "Oh, it was terrible because I just didn't like that last angle." Well, I gotta tell you, I really, really hated this last angle because finally, the reason why I thought it was good was because for once they went to New York, and that's a tough crowd. And I've been in many, many Raw crowds in Brooklyn and East Rutherford and Newark. Newark's the roughest, of course. Just walking outside is the roughest, but They finally had a show where the crowd wasn't going to sabotage it and try to go into business for themselves. They only did it during one match, which was like, okay, fine. It was a nothing tag match, and I can kind of let that go.
Was that
they had the crowd with them the entire night.
Was that during Bobby Roode and Chad Gable against Ricochet and Black?
Yeah, that was just like it was a match. It was a tag match. It was good, but whatever. I guess if you kind of get bored a little bit, I don't condone doing the wave, but honestly, like that was the one hiccup they had that night. They gave him Undertaker, they gave him a whole bunch of stuff, and then this happens, and then they basically gave them carte blanche to crap on the last 10 minutes of the show. So it's like that's the last thing you're going to see from the show. That's the last thing you're going to remember is a dead crowd just paying attention to beach balls. You know, obviously they knew that the Bar versus Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston wasn't going to keep people till the third hour. So in typical bait and switch mode from WWE, they book a winner-take-all match, like such huge stakes, and it's like any result other than a winner or some kind of disqualification where some major superstar debuts is going to be a turd. They literally laid a turd in the middle of the ring tonight with this main event. It was just horrible all around. I thought it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, like it wasn't necessarily the worst show. I was a little nervous about how I was going to like keep myself engaged just because of yesterday being so long. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, now we have 3 more hours again of a show. But I wasn't finding I would say it was a decent show. I wouldn't say it was the greatest Raw after WrestleMania, but it wasn't the worst either at the same time. I know I'm being non-committal with like a thumbs up right now, but you know,
it's your birthday. You can thumbs in.
Yeah, I get thumbs in the. You know what? You're right. I get thumbs in the middle today. But yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing because last night's main event, I was not happy about the circumstances of what happened, and then tonight, same thing. Not as strongly as I felt last night, just because it's WrestleMania. You should feel so excited coming out of it. But it was just like, don't tease something if it's not really going to have a follow through. And if you don't have anything comparable to fine. If you don't want to have it where Kofi or Seth take both titles, great. But there should have been something, and I'm not really sure what could have been comparable, but something else comparable. So having the Bar come out was not anything that was exciting to me. It wasn't like, oh my God, look, yeah, the Bar's here, awesome.
I would have even had Bray Wyatt come back tonight and just interfere.
He's not coming back though because of JoJo.
Oh my God.
No, but she said it.
Victoria with the gossip, yeah.
She said.
I had an issue with people just cutting promos and then their music would play. Like, okay, like Becky Lynch. Like, I mean, I didn't totally hate her promo. But she had the belts, and it was Seth Rollins was kind of doing the same thing. Like, here's my promo, here's my belt, and then Kofi comes out, here's my promo, here's my belt, and it was very like they just didn't really. It's strange because like last year's show had such a good, interesting, creative pace. Like every segment seemed to serve a purpose, and tonight was like, okay, how can let's get the Undertaker. The one thing I really, really did like, because I feel like I'm just shitting all over the show. Sami Zayn's promo was awesome.
Oh, phenomenal.
I love that.
Phenomenal.
If that's the new Sami Zayn like kind of character that he's going to be working with, I love it because I already really like what Sami does, but you know, it's like he's an acquired taste for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Just because of his indie background and he gets kind of stuck with that indie stigma a little bit. But I've always really liked his in-ring stuff, but the promo was him just kind of turning it around and said, there's nothing wrong with the wrestlers and the executives. It's all you creepy marks and all you critics and just him looking at everybody and pointing his finger. And it was really good. I liked that promo.
He did a fantastic job.
Yeah, and that's a good point. That's a good point too. And Paul, what do you think about them going after our target demographic?
Yeah,
Paul, thoughts?
I'm not even going to comment.
What's wrong? Why do you want to talk about Sami Zayn for? He was talking about all the dorks in the crowd.
It was an amazing promo that he cut. I can't say he turned heel because I think he was already healed before the injury, but
yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
So, but he turned on the crowd. We can say that. I properly worded that in my subject line today. Look, I don't know. Honestly, I don't even think they're gonna. They did that with him before, when he turned him heel, like maybe a year ago. They did something similar to what they did tonight. And for like 2-3 months he wrestled, and he was like worse than a mid-carder. They treated him worse than a mid-carder. And now he's back. He cuts almost a similar promo to before, but on a higher scale, maybe. I don't know. But let's see where how that develops, because I'd like to see him, evolve more in the company and become a main eventer. But I don't know. For some odd reason, I don't see that.
I mean, was he wrong? Was he wrong with what he said? Because he wasn't really wrong. I mean, that is the new world we live in right now. Is like wrestling. I mean, we're essentially proving his point by having a podcast criticizing an episode of Raw, but of course they're having fun with it, with his character. But a lot of wrestlers, believe it or not, do feel this way. And everything that he was saying, a lot of wrestlers really are annoyed. And it's strange because like you would think that they would be happy with the more people that are talking about wrestling after wrestling on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook. But I think it's super easy to just turn on a webcam now. And that's the other issue. And I think that's where wrestlers have taken issue is now you got everybody just kind of doing this. And it's like, okay, it was one thing when it was very, very, very sectioned out. And now it's just a giant bubble that's
and the
ready
majority
to burst.
of everybody wants to complain.
Yes.
There's not really like it's not even like you're getting a lot of these shows where people are just like, yeah, wasn't that great tonight?
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of good-natured people like us that get together and want to actually talk about this show, in a common sense way. You'll just get a lot of people, like, oh, I'm an angry Mark, I'll even start a website called Angry Marks, and and here I am, But I think that's also kind of like a bleed through from the 80s and 90s when, can't subscribe to the dirt sheets. I mean, they even had Hulk Hogan on a WCW pay-per-view take Dave Meltzer's Wrestling Observer and burn it in the trash. And you could definitely argue, you certainly could. If you've ever read Dave Meltzer's Observer, probably the best way to consume it is just to throw it in the trash and light it on fire. But that's been the common running theme in wrestling for basically ever. The dirt sheets are the enemy, and they're the only genre that does that too, really. I guess you could say other sports, they're not always friendly to the media. There's always somebody who's not friendly with the media, but they embrace it. They know that it's a necessary evil. Wrestlers have never looked at it like that, probably because, like you said, Adam, it's so easy to turn on a webcam, and there's so many mouth breathers out there masquerading as journalists that it's really kind of hurt the medium. But for websites like ours, and there's other websites too that are reputable, not as reputable as us, but they're trying really hard. I don't see why there can't be like an open line of communication like that. It's just like this weird thing. Like they, there's a couple bad apples that have spoiled the bunch in my sense.
Yeah, and I loved the entertainment aspect of what he was doing, and I think from a character standpoint, it's going to be great for him. But it was like when I was sitting there listening, I was like, "Ooh, he's not totally wrong," and I think that's if someone can kind of hit a nerve when they're cutting a promo, you can kind of identify with it a little bit, and even if you don't even agree with what the wrestler is saying in the promo, if it kind of makes sense and it connects, because the audience was like. I mean, even like the front row, like when he was looking at the front row, like the audience was like really interacting with him when he was saying those words, and everything he was saying was just on point. And I think that's smart for them because, Paul was talking about how he was kind of middling and he was still very solid in the ring. I thought he was doing a lot of stuff with Kevin Owens, coming to the aid of Kevin Owens. Now Kevin's over on Smackdown. I don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, a lot of this is, we're having conversations now, but a week from today, it's going to be all, changed up and everything. But for now, if that's all we got, I'm totally happy with that because I thought that promo was phenomenal by Sami Zayn. So thumbs up to Sami tonight.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. Now, there weren't a lot of on this show. There weren't a lot of big debuts tonight. The only debut of note was Lars Sullivan, who was supposed to debut. Well, we're going to talk about that in a second. Lars Sullivan, who was supposed to debut back in January. It was rumored on one of those dirt sheets, brother, that I got to burn up, that he was going to attack John Cena. And that was supposed to be one of the WrestleMania matches with Lars Sullivan versus John Cena, but he went cuckoo, and went away. Apparently some anxiety problem, but now it's kind of coming out that there were some racist tweets and sexist comments on an old Twitter account of his that actually got suspended by Twitter, and then he started a new one almost immediately.
Who is this again?
This is Lars Sullivan.
What?
Somebody sent me screenshots of his.
Oh, you're right. You're right. And this is when he's had some mental problems where he was tweeting very dangerous suicidal things, and I know that kind of got out in the wrestling media.
He's battling anxiety.
He's battling anxiety.
He's battling anxiety, but then there was tweets that came out like from earlier, I guess before he got signed, but like, talking about Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods. Why are they putting them together? Is it supposed to be like a Black Panther thing? Like but he obviously used a little more colorful language than that.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and there's screenshots. There was some reporting on that too. I wonder if that kind of played a role in this whole entire thing as well.
I know they cooled it down when he was tweeting suicidal things, and then his manager came out and basically said that Lars has been battling some mental issues, and that he was okay, and that they found him and everything. Because there was a fear that he had either committed suicide or was threatening to commit suicide. They found him, and then I think he went out on Twitter and said, "I'm going to go get some help right now." But yeah, that is the other. A lot of indie wrestlers talk about how, be careful what you write on Twitter if your aspiration is to try to get a contract with the WWE, because that's the end game for a lot of these guys. For some people, not really.
End game for a lot.
Oh no, it should be. Your main goal as an independent wrestler should be to get signed by a major company. Now I see in the chat, some people say, if everybody's gonna pick apart your past, then none of us will get a job. Yeah, that's all well and good, but I've said some weird things before on social media, but not once did I ever make a homophobic slur or talk about racist things or anything like that. So I wonder if I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying the anxiety was a work or a joke. I believe it, and my heart goes out to anybody who suffers from anxiety. It truly does. But at the same time, that all was coming out. I wonder if that played a role in the triggering of the anxiety.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. I don't really know. I just know that I honestly kind of forgot that he was part of the group of guys that they were bringing up from NXT. So when he showed up, I kind of forgot. I was like, oh yeah, duh. And there he is, been beat up old Kurt Angle.
Right. And it was a great segment. I really, really did like it. Then everybody started sending me like these tweets of his screenshots and stuff like that. I felt like immediately creepy writing that tweet. But anyway, back to my original point. I kind of went off on this like thing on Lars Sullivan, and who knows me? I was wildly speculative, but that's how we roll here on Post Raw. We speculate, okay? But there was no NXT call-ups tonight. Do you, Paul? We'll start with Paul. Do you think that's a good move, or do you think that's a bad move? Do you think that's become like kind of like one of the trademarks of Post Raw and it needs to be there, or what say you?
We'll find out next week. I can answer that question next week, because next week is the draft lottery, and I think they didn't want to make any changes tonight. I know we got the hang of it, or we got used to it the night after WrestleMania, that we're going to see some NXT guys show up. But I think this is going to happen next week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there definitely could be some NXT call-ups next week. There could be.
Well, they are advertising the draft lottery next week. They're advertising, the whole shake-up thing. So it has to be.
I just feel like the roster is like so stacked that there doesn't really need to be. I just saw a hilarious comment in the chat. I can't. I'm not going to say it out loud.
No, don't say it.
It was so goddamn spot on. But oh god, I'm going to go to hell. But yes, I think that the NXT call-ups night after WrestleMania actually handicap these people. I think it's like that's the worst thing you could possibly do, is set them before a crowd that has followed NXT and knows everything that they've done. And then the next week you go to a crowd that's never seen these people, couldn't care less about NXT, and it's like, boop, there's nothing for them. Nothing.
They didn't need to, though. I mean, there's been, how many guys have now been pretty much on television on a regular? Ricochet and Aleister Black were on 3 shows. They were on the TakeOver show. They were on WrestleMania. They were on tonight. They've both been consistently on Raw and SmackDown every night. They didn't need to. The problem is, like, the guys that they have brought up, they've struggled a little bit. So I don't know if that needs to be a thing. And Paul made the point too. The superstar shakeup is next week. So if they're going to bring more people up, that's fine. But yeah, I don't think they needed to tonight. It was kind of cool last year, but you know, we had that weird stopgap this year, which you guys talked about at length on the show about the McMahons literally walking out on television and go, yeah, this show kind of sucks. So we're going to try to change some stuff, which was unbelievable to me that they actually went out on their own television show and admitted that that it sucked. But.
And in a way they did prove, you know, their statement that night that they're going to make changes and they're going to give the fans what they want. And I think so far they have given the fans what they want. Becky Lynch, Kofi Kingston. Yeah. So you can't knock on that.
No, not at all. And I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now on Post Raw that, yeah, they did give the power to the fans. And actually that's kind of that kind of played into Sami Zayn's thing too. So it's not just like, oh, you know, it's just the creative team who gets crapped on all the time, you know, kind of using Sami Zayn's character as an outlet. There's also some kind of storyline reason, you know, for calling the fans the dark overlords of WWE, when really that title belongs to Paul.
I love the delayed reaction of Paul's face when Mike said that. That was wonderful. Nice job.
He's trying to figure out what Paul I was talking about, Triple H or the actual.
Stop roasting Paul.
No, I'm not roasting Paul. I love Paul.
It's so much fun to roast Paul because Paul just smiles and he doesn't really talk back or anything.
It's Adam's fault.
Except when we go off the air.
Exactly. See, when the camera's rolling, Paul's all smiles, and then as soon as I hit, hey, by the way, we're not on the air, and he goes, what the fuck, man? And then he just gets.
That's why this is Adam Martin's last show.
I know I can say whatever I want. Go ahead, fire me. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Fire me? Do something.
That's it.
Do something.
That's it. and then Paul's gonna buy the company Adam works for and fire him from that too.
Oh man!
Because Paul's got a lot of.
Oh man!
Leave Paul alone.
I'm saying he's got a lot of quiche. The guy's loaded.
He does. He's got some
quiche. In good shape. Anyway, what the hell were we talking about?
I don't remember.
We were talking about NXT, but we can talk about.
We were talking about the 4 on 10 show.
Yeah, the 4 out of 10. No, it wasn't a 4 out of 10. How dare you? Well, it wasn't that bad, but yeah, it was a struggle. I whatever you want to talk about, Mikey, it's your show. So we just got off on a weird tangent about NXT.
Yeah, well, no, we were talking about the superstars that debut on the Raw after Mania and how it actually hurts their. I believe it hurts their careers. What do you think, Adam?
I think who debuted last year was because I remember was it Ember Moon? So Ember Moon's I thought her debut was great.
Yeah, it was great. Oh no, the debuts are always spectacular.
They are.
I'm talking about the week after.
Yeah, it does fizzle out a little bit. By the way, speaking of Ember Moon, I thought she was hurt, and then she just walked into the ring last night in the women's battle royal. And I'm like, okay, I guess we're fine now, because I thought her elbow was like totally fucked. I thought she was out for 6 months or something, but guess not. But you do have a point that there's the big splash, there's the big entrance, there's the big reaction. There's the video on YouTube, the interview. I'm so excited to be here, Mike. I've been in NXT for so long. Now I'm on the big stage. And then you're right. After like 2 weeks, people just kind of move on. So that's why it felt, and I've always been a big proponent of like the showcase stuff with these NXT guys. And when they tried to railroad the cruiserweights on Raw, which completely bombed, why not do the NXT showcase? Kind of like how they did Halftime Heat a couple months ago. Like that was a great showcase for that brand, and you can kind of fit those into Raw and SmackDown, or you can do what they've been doing, which is just bringing up a bunch of talents and kind of giving them a stage, and then they kind of know that they're about to finish up with NXT. They still make appearances for NXT, but they're also consistently on television as well. So there you go.
Right.
Getting roasted in this. Oh, sippy. Okay. Yeah, it'll travel on the 4-panel shot. There you go.
Stay in your own shot, lady.
Yeah, stay in your lane, Victoria. Jeez.
Yeah, really.
How dare I try to hydrate myself?
I know, exactly.
Terrible. All right. What do you think about the NXT debuts, dear?
I agree. I don't like it during the. Okay, you don't have to shake and convulse. I don't think that it's necessary because, like you mentioned before, people don't know who these people are. So it's like it's such a letdown for them. You have these amazing NXT shows, and then all of a sudden you go on the Raw after WrestleMania, and it's like, you know?
Yeah, no, I do.
What were you doing during my shot?
Nothing. I wasn't doing. I was crossing your shot. I would never do that.
This is so much fun. Did I make a mistake having you two sit next to each other for this? Because usually there's distance, right? When you guys do the show by yourselves, there's a little.
Oh, absolutely.
We sit across from each other because
you can't handle it. Yeah,
because stuff like this that
you need to behave, you two. How dare you?
Man.
I know. We do like each other though. I assure you all.
Sometimes it's just marriage. It's all right.
It's marriage. It's marriage. But like these NXT call ups. Like I kind of like that idea of doing an NXT showcase match, but it's like they have to do it in a way where it's not just filler. You know, like it would have to be given like the 10 o'clock spot on Raw every week is the NXT showcase match. Check it out. You know, top of the hour, you have to give it something where, you know, people will have eyes on it and it makes it seem like it's a big deal.
I know you weren't a huge fan of when they brought Ricochet and Aleister Black in and how they did that whole, style of, but I don't mind that just because I felt like it was a little bit better than they just come out and have a match and you absolutely have no idea who they are. But this was just a little bit more like you get a kind of a sense of who they are and people can get into you a little bit.
Yeah. So let's continue on talking about Raw a little bit here. So we got we talked about Lars Sullivan. There's certain things that we can skip over too. Like the Raw Tag Team Championships match. Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins holding it to me is just a mass. Like, first of all, the match was horribly built. I had no idea that Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder were even a tag team, even though it happened on Raw at some point. And then they were gone for a month, and it's like, okay, now they're getting a WrestleMania. It felt like it was just for a pop.
Yeah, whatever. Move on.
So whatever. The tag team titles are dead for both genders. It's true.
I love when Mike just like stamps a thought. They're both fucking dead. That was wonderful, Mike.
There's nothing you can say about it. That's it.
You just stamped it.
Yes. Sometimes I got to put the foot down.
I declare bankruptcy.
Just nailed it. I loved it.
That's not how it works. But every now and then I have to put the foot down, and the foot is down right now on the tag team division. That's the end of it. It's over. Pack it up and go home. I do want to say though, before the whole Lars Sullivan thing came out, I absolutely loved Baron Corbin tonight.
Oh, really?
They're shitting all over the crowd. I loved it.
Well, okay. The promo wasn't bad. Actually, Roy and I both agreed that we still thought Baron Corbin was a terrible opponent for Kurt Angle at WrestleMania.
It was horrible.
And how did that come off live, by the way? Was that because
it was dead? Oh my God, Adam, you wouldn't believe this. People were scrambling out of their seats to go to the bathroom or go to the concession stands. I couldn't believe that it was Kurt Angle's last match, and people were just rushing out of there.
Yeah, we got up several times. We got up several times because people in our row kept there were so many people who left. There was multiple people who left during that time, and we were pretty shocked. But I don't know. I don't know if it was some sort of I don't care about the match or I'm boycotting the match. Maybe a little bit of both. But it was.
It could also be that it was at the 6-hour mark and people had to pee.
Maybe, yeah. But it really did not. More people were very into the aftermath of that show. Then you saw more people saying for that and being part of the "You Suck" chant. But
yeah, people just left. It was a real turd. It was a real turd live.
Which I feel bad for Kurt Angle because it's you don't want somebody who's done so much for the company to have to deal with that. But I don't know. My whole thoughts on that, I could have a whole other show on.
Well, I've always said that not always said. I said it last week, but now it's turned into always. That Kurt Angle's biggest curse is that he was such a damn good wrestler. He was so good at being a pro wrestler, and he was just a freakish athlete that any type of diminishment of skills at all, that kills his entire gimmick. It's like Mick Foley can come back a trillion times and hide his stuff with smoke and mirrors. You can send Goldberg out there and just do a couple spears and stuff like that. You can hide a lot of weaknesses on some of these older wrestlers, but a guy like Kurt Angle, where he's an Olympic gold medalist, he's been the wrestling machine. To have him come out there and do anything less than a great match is, that just really kills the image of the character.
Yeah.
And the fact that he couldn't even pull a great match out of his body. They did a very paint by numbers retirement match.
I was kind of hoping that, tonight's little segment with Baron Corbin and Kurt Angle, and obviously Lars Sullivan came into the mix. I was kind of hoping it would be a little quicker, like it was tonight. Like, it was very fast. Baron Corbin spoke a little bit, talked trash, and then Kurt Angle comes out, does his thing, gets the crowd. I would have preferred that, as opposed to last night. This kind of, the match wasn't super long, but still, it was, like you said, a very paint by numbers, very quick, very simple. But like something like that would have been just, I don't know, more fitting for him. Like, just, yeah. I think the better part of it would have been just quick little match and have the crowd cheer for him for like 20 minutes. Like, I would have preferred that aspect of it.
Snaps. Good stuff. Oh my God. Oh, very threatening.
We're still talking about Raw.
Yeah, we are. We're almost done.
It's a dumpster fire of a show. I thought this show stunk. I'm sorry. There was the Sami Zayn promo, and then outside of that, the only thing I kind of also giggled at was Bobby Lashley insinuating that he was going to fuck Dean Ambrose's wife.
Oh, I love that.
Which was awesome, because Renee Young goes, "What does he mean? What is he trying to say?" And then like Corey Gray goes, "Well, and then they just kind of
what
like
I did with Carmella.
Corey Graves not knowing how to like answer the question properly with Vince, the general, in his ear was hilarious, because they just immediately went into, they're fighting at the barricade now, and it was so funny. Renee Young did that beautifully. She's like, "What is he trying to say? Is he like?" That was great. I enjoyed that. That was awesome.
He's gonna do me.
He's gonna do me. Yeah, that's just the wife. Like when Samoa Joe did that to AJ's wife at the SummerSlam match last year. That was awesome. It's just cheap heat, but it makes me giggle every time I see it. So I loved it. It was great.
Well, very simple. Especially it's especially great when the wife actually works for the company.
Yes, because how long did it take them to acknowledge that on commentary?
0 weeks.
Annoyed did I get?
Oh my God! For the entire Dean Ambrose heel turn, they would ask Renee, you're married to him. What do you think? What is he saying? And she goes, I don't know. I haven't talked to him in so long. It's like, well, what the fuck are you doing married to this guy?
My husband. I really don't possibly know. You have the worst marriage of all time.
That's awesome. Well, I had to add that because that was the one thing that I did enjoy tonight, and the Sami Zayn promo.
Yeah, the rest of the stuff was pretty much turd burglars.
Read Mike's recap if you want to know.
Yeah, like the Alexa Bliss Bailey match was just a piece of shit.
I don't want to talk about it. Don't even say it sucked. Just move on.
The Becky Lynch promo, I liked it, but it was like a rehashing of Seth Rollins' promo, and you kind of mentioned that earlier, Adam.
Yeah.
The one I did like Lacey Evans though.
That wasn't after the promo.
Yeah, they finally paid that off.
That wasn't terrible. Her kind of getting cute and saying Ronnie and smiling at the hard camera was kind of funny. But it was another segment where it's like, by the way, look at these shiny belts that I won, and it was just kind of a bummer.
Yeah. Oh God, how bad was with the attempt at trying to get Becky 2 titles over as a champ?
Ooh, that was not a good one. That was a swing and a miss, Becky. Like she's normally pretty comfortable on the mic, but that one. Because she used to do this goofy shit when she was a babyface, which technically she is now, but she used to do the Becky Balboa stuff. I fucking hated the tea time stuff that her and Charlotte would do, where they would sip the tea because they're trying to do the Kermit the Frog meme. And I hated that. It was always so awkward, came off so bad on television.
The only time she got it really good was when she talked about Charlotte Flair like disappearing, and then she posted a picture of her with her new boobs and was like, "Oh yeah."
That was kind of funny. Yes,
that was good.
Charlotte's big old boobs. Yeah, that was pretty good though.
Oh yeah, and okay, let's bring Paul into the mix, because Paul, you're a little quiet right now. I want to get Paul Nemer going here.
Just say Bret Hart, and he'll perk right up. It works.
Well, let's talk about one of Bret Hart's greatest opponents, The Undertaker, coming out tonight.
Oh, segue, everybody, segue.
Yeah, Elias in the ring, he says, "Anybody who interrupts me, they're a dead man." And then, of course, that sends out The Undertaker.
The dead man.
Yeah. What do you think about, number one, having him on Raw tonight, and then number two, not having him on WrestleMania last night?
I think they just had him on Raw tonight for the pure purpose of entertainment and just to get the crowd going. And I don't think we're going to see Undertaker for another like little while.
Well, he's got a Saudi Arabia show to build too.
Well, yeah, but I mean, that's it. I don't know. I don't see him on Raw for the next little while.
I know. Do you think that it was like the right move though to even send him out there at all? Because a lot of people were like, well, why didn't they just use him at WrestleMania?
Yeah, you know what? WrestleMania. Adam said it best. He should have stopped at WrestleMania when he lost to Brock Lesnar. The WrestleManias after that were just garbage.
Oh yeah.
For him anyway. But no, I would have brought him on tonight. Just for the fans. Everybody loved it. So why not? You bring him on one time. He does his little tombstone and he leaves. Yeah. And you don't see him for another 6 months. So yeah, why not?
Okay, all right. I kind of like that. That's a pretty concise answer. A nice little crowd pleaser before they gave you a shitty main event.
By the way, Undertaker was in shape. He looked so out of shape at the Saudi Arabia show that you and Paul reviewed. And he, all of us, because I noticed on his social media he's like sponsored by like those food companies. They'll send you boxes of pre-made food. They're supposed to get you on meal schedules. Mike's grimacing right now because Mike would hate these things because they tell you how to eat. But
I just hate the fact that who said it on I saw it online and somebody just goes they posted a screenshot of the Instagram sponsorship thing that Taker was doing and they go, oh my god, Undertaker's become a basic bitch on Instagram.
A batch. That's wonderful. A basic batch. Well,
and Adam, just to answer your comment about Undertaker, the reason why he looked beat up last time, he looks in shape tonight, is because he had wrestled twice in like 3 months.
Yeah.
Last time, and now he hasn't wrestled in a long time, so
he's an old dog.
That's how he does.
How old is Undertaker now? He's an old dog.
55.
He's 54. I think
he is 54 years old.
Yeah, so, 54. See, I'm never wrong on old school guys.
No, you got that covered.
So proud of himself. Look at him.
Of course, I'm the walking encyclopedia of wrestling when it comes to old school shit.
Look at that smile. He's just so happy. Look at that. Look at Paul.
Adam, you're fired.
And that's why I wanted to bring Paul into the mix on that one because I know it's like I know how to utilize this guy properly. Here we go.
Did you see everybody spamming the chat when Paul was talking about Bret Hart and everybody was saying that Bret Hart was overrated and Bret Hart sucks and they were just Bauer got in a good screw Bret line. It was wonderful. It was great.
God, we got such bloodhounds in the chat room. Like, I mean, Bret Hart got tackled by a guy in a Rastafarian hat. Can't you give him a break?
Yeah.
That was a sad video.
I do have to admit though, I did send Paul a message on Sunday morning. I was pretty much doing a wellness check on Paul after the Saturday incident.
I messaged actually. I think I was talking to Paul, and then I messaged Mike as you were covering the show, and I quickly brought up the live stream because I knew they were going to edit it off. And Mike said as he was recapping the show, he heard the oof that sound that Bret Hart made when he got tackled. I shouldn't laugh because it wasn't funny.
No, it's scary.
But
scary.
But the sound that he made, and I was like, and then what was funny, like there was an NWA Legends Twitter account that immediately was like, oh, this is a work. This was a plant, and they tried to get all this attention. They knew this would get headlines, and it's like, why would they want headlines for someone tackling a Hall of Famer? Like that's not the way to get. I don't know. I thought that was silly, but. There's always that one dude who thought Ronda Rousey actually lost on purpose to Holly Holm, like Taz said many years ago. And it's just so strange. He blocked me on Twitter for saying that. So, cause I call him a big dummy. But
he is a big dummy.
Dummy.
And in fact, we when we were driving home last night, we listened to Taz on the radio. He's on WFAN and
he's good on the radio. I won't talk shit about Taz on the radio. He's very good on the radio. But a lot of his hot takes are just really stupid, and that was one of the stupidest ones I ever heard. That he insinuated that Ronda Rousey lost on purpose to Holly Holm and got her face kicked in Australia so that they could set up a rematch, which they actually didn't end up doing anyway. But yeah, he's good on the radio, though. I'll give him that.
Yeah, he's good on the radio because he fits in with all the WFAN guys like Mike's friend Sessa, like these big fat New York turds that sit on the microphone. The Yankees and the
We're talking about Mike Francesa. Okay, Mike. He says okay after every word. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And nobody knows baseball like I do. I was going to be signed by the Yankees, but I'll tell you that here's the McMahon.
This is all just going right over that Paul said. If we start talking about like Argentina and soccer, he'd be like, "Oh, fuck yeah," and he'll just jump in. But
yeah.
Sorry.
I did that impression specifically for my brother-in-law. But I think we covered Raw enough.
Yeah.
I think we're good on Raw. And apparently people weren't really feeling this. I'm looking at our Twitter right now.
Oh yeah, you want to look at the poll? I'll put the poll up here. One sec. Sorry.
The poll.
By the way, Mike, I found the video of the send off for Dean Ambrose. If you wanted to watch that, we shouldn't be getting in trouble for showing that. But if you'd like to, I can put it up. It's up to you.
I don't want to risk it.
Okay.
This show's too important. So we have a 68% thumbs down, my dear.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. People didn't like the show.
That's 40%.
What's that? Oh, you're right. Oh my God. Yeah, it's over for you. Yeah.
Paul was so excited to say it. That's 40%. He's so excited.
That's 4 on 10.
It's 4 out of 10 because Paul's been saying 4 out of 10 the entire show. So yeah, you were very excited.
Hashtag 4 out of 10.
That's hilarious.
I wish I had the shot of Paul smiling as he said that out loud as that happened, but yeah.
Hashtag 4 out of 10.
Yeah. There's very Bret Hart 4 out of 10. It wasn't very good though. Like I'm on it. Like I'm very proud of our Twitter followers for accurate. And I know they usually shit over every week because poor Mike and Victoria come in here and they're like, yeah, the show's really good. And then they go to the poll and it's like 95% thumbs down. They're like, well, shit, I guess I don't. But I thought they nailed this one pretty good though, because I was really looking forward to the show tonight because
a 7-hour show. It's tough to get into anything.
But even last year though, last year's WrestleMania was just as long, if a little bit shorter, but still very long show, and they knocked it out of the park last year. But
then again, you had an angrier crowd because people did not get home till like 5 a.m. So.
That is very true. I saw something about you guys, obviously you didn't have to take transit, but something about they did not have enough transit available last night, and there was people working overtime, and they were not notified that the show was going to go long. So they were blaming the WWE for that, and you guys know more about that. That's your world, but that was crazy.
Yeah, they tried to blame WWE, and there's some federal regulation that says they can't work overtime and stuff like that. So it was a big mess. I wouldn't know anything about it because I was home within 40 minutes, and I was happy as hell.
That's good.
So,
but let's get back to.
No. I was going to say something. Of course, it just fell out of my head now that all this stuff was being talked about. But yeah. Oh yeah. Now I know why. I think I like the show. I think I'm part of that that tiny minority that kind of like this show, specifically because we were there last night. And I think I was just so happy to be sitting on my couch and enjoying a wrestling show rather than sitting in a chair in cold weather, like trying to just stay awake for a show. That anything was an improvement over that.
Agreed.
So that's what I got. Okay. Should we do it? I think we should. I'm putting my foot down. Adam,
yeah.
You're the reason we're all here tonight.
Yeah. Is this that awkward time? Is this like that moment when you go to buy a car and then you have to finagle the price with the salesman and then you're just like, oof, this is awkward. I don't like this.
Yeah. Pretty much.
We knew this was going to be part of the show. It's awkward.
But here's the thing.
This is the part where we announce that Adam's
I'm going to embarrass myself.
This is the part where we actually announce that Adam's dying.
No.
I know. Everyone was tweeting to me like I announced I had cancer. I'm like, I'm not dying. I'm not going anywhere.
Before I was crying.
Oh no, Victoria, that's not good. Don't cry. There's nothing to be sad about. Obviously, it's a bummer, but there's nothing to be crying about. Everyone, no one's dying. I should have wrote that as my line on Twitter.
Our souls are dying, Adam.
Our soul. Mike sent me the most depressing message today, and I'm going to read it verbatim because I don't even want to try to pretend like I'm going to get this right. So I put the statement out, which I put off until today. I did not want to write that statement because I told Paul I was planning to write it last week, and I'm like, oof, I just don't want to do it. But I put the message out, and I get this. I get this message from Mike, and it just goes, oof, too real now. You're actually stepping down. It was like Mike knew, but until I actually put it out, because I told a select few people, but I didn't tell a lot of people. And I had this conversation with Paul, and Paul's grimacing right now as I'm about to say this out loud live on the show, but we didn't want to distract too much from day-to-day business with Wrestleview. With this, and that's why I was almost going to say something last night. I was shocked at how many people were hanging out with us as late as last night went. So I thought about it and I was like, we'll wait. But no, I'm not going to AEW, Daniel. I am not going to any websites. I know Goosey joked about the Observer. I'm not going to any wrestling websites. I'm not going to any websites, period. I'm walking away from Wrestleview. I'm not going to competition, nothing. So no. And no, not happening. Wouldn't even consider it. So no, thank you.
Not to add that Adam had the opportunity to jump ships before.
Like three times. Yeah, many times.
Several times. And he stayed loyal for 18 years.
Can I talk about that, Paul, or do you not want me to put that out there? Doesn't matter.
Just don't mention the names.
Well, then that's all the fun of doing it. Why would I even want to talk about that if I can't say the names? But
all right, go ahead.
Well, the first one was WrestleZone, which everybody knows. Yeah, Mike just went, oh no. It already had a reputation at that point. This was 2009, I think. Yeah, it was 2009. And Chris Cash, whose real name is Chris Chisholm, he created a fake name named Chris Cash.
Chisholm?
Chris Chisholm with a C.
I thought it was Chris Chisholm.
No, it's not Chris Chisholm. He does the Voice of Wrestling show, and he is a manager, I think, for Billy Gunn, or helps out Billy Gunn, or I don't know what the case is, but he had recruited me, and I immediately told Paul, I'm like, I got a phone call. This is what they're offering. Obviously, I had no interest in going to WrestleZone because WrestleZone just had a bad reputation. It started to get a little bit better. I've actually bumped into the WrestleZone guys at StarCast, and I know one of them very, very good, Kevin Kellum, and I will 100% vouch for Kevin Kellum. Super cool dude, but they had like a full staff at StarCast. So, that was, that's improving. That's getting better. But Paul knows, and Paul had a stronger history at WrestleZone, that it was, very bad reputation for a long time. So,
definitely. Yeah. I mean, Adam and I have helped out many sites before. I've helped out WrestleZone back in 18 years ago. I don't even remember the date. We've helped out LOP. We've helped out many sites that still exist today that people are unaware of. But we decided to, focus on Wrestleview. Let's stop helping out other sites and focus on Wrestleview. And that's when Adam really went. Okay, I'll tell you something. I went on vacation in 2002. Adam had been with Wrestleview for about a year and a half. And I went on a 3 months vacation. 3 months. No wrestling, disconnected from the world. And Adam ran the show. And I never said this to Adam, but after that summer of 2002, where he'd been on the staff for, I think, a year and so, that's when I realized, I'm like, fuck, dude, this guy could go so far with the site. He's going to really make the site what it is today. And here we are in 2019, nearly 20 years later. And we owe this to Adam. Adam is the guy that pretty much catapulted Wrestleview to where it's at today. And I can honestly say that. So for that, I thank you, Adam. And, all good things must come to an end. But this is your retirement for now. We all took our break from wrestling.
Yeah. Paul.
And it's a well-deserved break. I can tell you that much. I'm sure we'll see you. I wouldn't say soon, but we'll see you from time to time.
I'm waiting for Paul to wrap this up with a "You're fired."
Yeah, when are you gonna say it out loud? Are you gonna make it official or no?
What? You're fired.
Yeah.
Oh my.
No.
Well, I have to say, on a personal note as well, and I kind of said this on my Facebook post today to Adam, a serious Facebook post, but without Adam Martin, rest in peace, I would not be in wrestling media. And I'm forever grateful for that. But I'm also grateful, and Paul Nemer, of course, giving me the platform to also do all my wrestling media stuff. But Adam's the one who actually brought me onto the site, kind of coached me through how to, my recaps and posting everything. He was always kind of like my go-to guy. I met Paul a little more down the line, but because of letting me in that door, inviting me in, I've met so many great people. I've made so many great friends. I include and that's Paul is a very good friend of mine, and Adam, you're a great friend. You're like a brother to me. We've been together. We knew each other before we were married. We knew each other. I knew you before you were married, and me as well. And we've been with each other through that. We never actually went to our weddings or anything like that. But it's a shared experience of ours, and I see how your life has just taken off since you've had the baby, and I'm just so happy for you. I'm so proud of you, and you've really made this website, the premier non-bullshit wrestling website of the internet, in my opinion, and I think you deserve to be commended for that. So I wanted to just say my hat is off to you. I'm not wearing a hat tonight, but because I already took it off earlier today. So thank you, Adam.
Thank you, guys. That's very nice of you. I don't know what to do here. I'm sitting here. I'm like, by the way, they're comparing me. If they want, I can like show up like the Undertaker from time to time. Like the gong, the gong will just, you guys will just be doing a podcast and the gong will go off, and then I'll just walk out in a cowboy hat or something.
That's perfect.
Yeah, that'll be fun. And
I just want to tell you that, I told you, I told you today, I was crying. I was with Mike. I'm like, I can't believe this is actually happening. We've known each other for a while as well, and the fact that you've accepted my quirkiness, you've always just been like a really good friend to Mike, and I think you and Molly are just great people, and it's just nice to know that coming out of something like this, we have good friends, and the fact that it's really not, it's a goodbye to the website, but it's not a goodbye for everything else, which is nice, and I just appreciate the fact that you allowed me to have this opportunity to have this show with Mike and, be part of the Wrestleview family, Yeah. So
I thought she was gonna yell at you for all the times I've been taken away from her.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame her because
never.
It's not easy, and Paul knows too. It's not easy doing this job, and I've been. I feel when Paul talks about it being like 2002, 2001, we're older now. I mean, we're not over the hill, but we started doing this as kids. I was a kid, man, when I started doing this. I mean, I was doing stuff with wrestling on the internet as far back as 1998. And little GeoCities websites. Paul, you remember Hypermart? I had a Hypermart website where we couldn't afford the server costs, so we would have something.hypermart.net to host the website. That's how I first got to meet Paul through that. And we talked about that on our anniversary show we did a year ago. And we went through the whole timeline of everything. But I had a website called Know Your Role Wrestling, and Paul laughs every time he hears that title. I was such a mark for The Rock at the time. And then I started a website called Pro Wrestling Coverage with Kevin Lowry. And then Paul took notice of that, and Paul just brought me on. Didn't really know me very well, but he knew of me from the earlier days. And then from that point on, I was embedded in Wrestleview. And I saw it start with very big staffs, and then staff changes, and the staffs would dwindle and then grow and go back. And the one thing I do want to acknowledge is that a lot of people walked away from this that were a big part of this website, and they had to because of life. And that's one of the things that I had to talk about with Paul that was really hard, but Paul understood. I mean, Paul wasn't going to be a dick about it, but Paul has a family now too. So he understands, and it gets really tough when you are trying to maintain normal life and then you're still trying to make this stuff work. It's really, 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 really tough. And it's a balance. And I got nervous when I knew life was going to change last year. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to really make this work. And then I'm sure people noticed I was showing up fewer for podcasts. Mike was awesome and stepped up and covered pay-per-views for me. It just got to the point where I couldn't, it was, and I'm going to boil it down to this. I love wrestling. I will continue to watch wrestling, but if my baby was crying, I'm sorry. Like, you can't say like, sorry, I got to see the last 5 minutes of this AJ Styles match. Like, you just, priorities change in life. You get older, you know, responsibility mounts, and you know, it just, unfortunately, this is that time. And the conversation I had with Paul, I'm repeating this because I had this conversation with Paul. We didn't talk about this publicly, but it felt weird to have that call with Paul. Be like, dude, that's it. And that was 4 weeks ago. I knew this was coming for about a month. And I got a weird feeling last night of like, do I say that was the first time it kind of hit me. I was going to say something at the end of the WrestleMania show, and I started to get this like pressure on my chest. I'm like, ooh, what's that? What's that feeling? And it felt weird. And I'm feeling it right now as I'm talking to everybody right now, and it feels really strange. But like, you know, like everyone's saying, I'm not dying. I'm just kind of, you know, taking a little bit of a breather. I think this is going to be good for me as a wrestling fan too, because I think I got a little, I'm looking for the fancy word that means you have become a critic for too long and that you don't watch wrestling as a fan when you should, because that's kind of the point of wrestling.
Jaded.
Yeah, maybe a little jaded at times. And then of course, you know, you come across really, really great people, like Mike, like Victoria, like Paul, like Doug, Hunter and Tom were huge parts of this website. And then all the columns that we built out with the staff, you know, and people that did results for us, like Dave Stevens and Mr. V and a ton of people. I hated saying names because if I forget somebody or I leave somebody out, they're going to be pissed.
I'm sure we forgot a bunch of people.
There's just a laundry list of people that I could go and if I had the names, I could tell you anything I could about them. And then you run into some, you know, assholes too along the way, but that's good because then you know how to handle situations like that.
Yeah.
And I said this in my statement today that a lot of the stuff that happened on WrestleView kind of helped shape me as a person and helped me professionally in the workforce and in college. And it just, you know, I from like the pressure situations of stuff, I could handle stuff because it was very stressful. Probably the most stressful thing I ever did in the history of WrestleView was when we opened the VIP section. I had never been more stressed in my entire life. But I had time for it to commit to it. And then, you know, life obviously changed from that point on. But you know, and I'm rambling at this point now, but I think I said enough in my statement that the thing I was trying to get over the most in that statement was that I was so appreciative of the work I did on this website, the reputation I hope I was able to build a good reputation for the website. I heard people tell that to me, both in person, over social media, over email. That was always a goal I had with Paul, and I think we reached that goal quite a bit. But you know, and I know Jamel said, you know, I think All In Weekend Starcast broke me. No, nothing in particular broke me. I would say the lifestyle change of having a child had more of an impact on me than I thought it was going to. And that I see Hunter told this to me when he had his first kid, that life just completely changes. And he was 100% true and 100% accurate. And Tom told me a lot about this too. That you look at life differently. And like, I was telling Paul one night, like I was trying to report something on WrestleView and the baby was crying. I was like, what am I doing? Like, I need to go be with her. I need to take care of her. I brought this little human being into this world and I'm fucking writing a report about wrestling, you know, and I love wrestling. I love WrestleView and I love everything about this, but sometimes you gotta sit down and be like,
family's first, my friend.
Yeah. Family's first. There was nothing, I know there, I don't want to like have people speculate because there was nothing, that made me go like, oh, there was no moment with WrestleView where I just threw the papers up and I was like, fuck this. There's nothing with that. The outside world just kind of I couldn't fight it anymore. And I felt like I was being really unfair, to my family. And I have to think about my family right now. And of course, you know, as children get older, life gets a little bit easier. That changes. But and Randy in the chat is bringing it up. I love being a dad right now. It's incredibly rewarding. It's the strangest thing when it happens to you. And I would always hear, people talk about this, but it really, really does change you. And it makes you think about everything about your life completely differently. So I did my best to try to express that right now. And I think I did that to Paul when I told him about my decision. And I honestly, I'm going to continue to watch, to support and observe Wrestleview. I think the website's going to continue to thrive. I think everything is going to be business as usual. And I encourage everyone, continue to support the website, continue to listen to podcasts like this with Mike and Victoria, continue to support Doug, continue to support the post pay-per-view shows, the live recaps, the news, everything. I mean, just because I'm leaving doesn't mean something bad is going to happen to Wrestleview. This website will continue and it will be business as usual. I just won't be part of it anymore, which is strange to say out loud, but that's the point we've reached.
Right.
And I think what was nice too, what you meant, Adam, you mentioned like to us privately, like it's not like, obviously you're very committed to your family and everything. It's like, but if anyone ever needs help with anything, you're not going to be like, screw Wrestleview. You know what I mean? Like you're a resource no matter what. Like you're always going to be like a go-to person essentially. You know what I mean? Even though you're not even as active, obviously, He's
an asset.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Adam said it best earlier. Nobody, I mean, maybe Mike and Adam, and obviously Adam, but Mike and the other guys will understand. It's very hard. What we do is hard. Obviously, I'm not comparing ourselves to wrestlers, because wrestlers don't see their families ever. But I'm saying what we do is hard, especially when you have a family, because it could be 9 p.m. You're with your kids, your wife, and some fucking major news item breaks, and you own a very large website and you have to report it, right? Like it's a big news item. You cannot not report something like that. So you got to leave everything behind, go spend 30 minutes typing up the report, publishing it if it's a long article, depending, and then following up on it. And it ends up being 2-3 hours of work a night that you could have spent with your family. It's not easy. Being in this line of business, honestly, it's not easy. And I think Adam found out firsthand, especially when he had a family.
Yeah. But 18 years is a great run.
Yeah.
But this site's been around for 22 years.
97. I lost count. I swear to God, I lost count.
Yeah, we've been around a long time. And the bottom line is, like Adam said, it's business as usual. Everything will go on as normal. It's just we're just not going to have the presence of Adam Martin there. But we're fine. Adam's not leaving because of any blow up with anybody, and I think that's what we really wanted to make sure that we hammered home tonight. I think we did that.
And just to, I think we can say it on the air, just to give people a heads up about what's happening with Wrestleview since Adam's leaving. Mike is going to step into a bigger role now. Now he's not just going to be doing Raw and the podcast with Victoria. He's going to be helping out with news during the day. Anthony Valvo is joining the staff. He's coming back to Wrestleview, but not as a columnist this time around. It's going to be more as a news reporter. He's going to help out with news. Doug, we're still talking. He's going to be part of Well, he's always been part of Wrestleview, but he might take on a different role also, or an additional role, as I can say. And my brother Roy also, as you've seen probably in the last couple of weeks or couple of months even, he's slowly moving up there too. Yeah, so
the call-up section of the show.
So that's just to give you a little glimpse of what's coming up on Wrestleview.
Cool. Well,
and Adam, my friend, I can't thank you enough.
Thank you guys.
Every single contribution, every single thing you've done on Wrestleview from A to Z. It's I can spend days talking about your contributions. So for that, thank you very much, and I wish you the best in your new position at work. And we'll always be in touch. We got our cell phones, we got our WhatsApp, so we got our everything.
Yes.
Cheers to Adam, everyone.
I should have brought a beer. I just have a glass of water. So this is a terrible cheers. This is a sober cheers for everybody. But
cheers.
Well, thank you guys for and Victoria. I hate saying the word guys. It's so generalization, but
no, please.
But thank you to all of you for the kind words. And I've had some really nice stuff said to me on Twitter today. I had a lot of stuff said to me on Facebook today, which I'm going to get to tomorrow. And if you're friends with me on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and stuff, you'll kind of get a better idea of what I'm moving on to. I've obviously told people, around me kind of what I'm doing. It is not wrestling related. I'm not going to a wrestling website. I am pretty much stepping away entirely from journalism for right now and maybe for a long time. So it's going to be a completely different chapter of my life, and I'm really excited about it. And it was an opportunity that was presented to me recently. I've been doing it for like the last 2 years, and it's really gone from something that started really small with a lot of potential to now just completely growing and blowing up. And I'm really honored to be part of it and to be part of that growth and to be chosen to be part of that. So it's something that I'm going to really sink my teeth into, and it has nothing to do with men in stretchy pants. So I'm going to be, it's good. It's good for the brain, I think, to kind of mix things up a little bit in life. Cause I think we get so stuck in that mode, of thinking this is only what I'm good at. I need to only do this and focus on this. And sometimes you can evolve a little bit and expand and go into different areas. So, but thank you everybody for the kind words in the chat tonight, on Twitter, on Facebook. I'm not dying. I'm not disappearing. I'm not going to just disappear off of social media or something. Obviously I won't have like little Wrestleview tags on my social media anymore, but I'm not disappearing. So, and I would love to, Undertaker surprise show up on podcasts from time to time and dive back into wrestling and just kind of, discuss stuff. So
and enjoy it as a fan again. That's my one wish for you.
It's going to be amazing to watch a WWE TV show or pay-per-view and not have to like run to the computer and have to do something. It's just going to be fun to sit back and chill and watch it as a fan. So I haven't done that for 18 years. So it's going to be fun.
I'm going to say something. This might sound bad, but I mean it in a good way. The way you feel right now, Adam, is like, okay, pressure off my back. I can actually relax. There's no more pressure. There's no more waking up early to put news or staying up late to put news or running around to put news. It's like you're relieved. That's how I've been for 18 years having you on the staff.
Oh, wow. That's nice. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Ooh. Hit me right in the feels right there. Paul slapping me with the feels at the end here. Good stuff.
And I've been waiting 18 years to say these 2 words.
Say it. Do it. Do it. Just slap me with it. It's fine. It's over. Technically, it is over your time, but I got 5 more minutes my time. It's like New Year's Eve for me right now. I'm waiting
almost 1 a.m. here.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
cool. Well, we'll let Adam enjoy the final 5 minutes of his tenure on WrestleView. Yeah. A tenure which has been marked with great growth for the website, and we will continue to grow based off of what Adam has done for us. But I'm Mike Tedesco of Wrestleview.com. This is Victoria. Paul Nemer, the owner, webmaster of Wrestleview.com. But I'm going to let Adam take us home tonight.
Oh, I get to take you home. This is your show. I feel like I'm just stealing your thunder here, sir.
No. Adam, you have the last word.
I have the last word. I have the Bill O'Reilly factor last word.
Yeah. I was going for Lawrence O'Donnell, but
that's it. Yeah. Okay. Well, everybody, thank you very much. Thank you to Mike and Victoria for letting us parachute in on their podcast. And I wasn't a giant fan of the show tonight, but I had fun talking about it. And obviously this is weird. I'm used to, doing a good chunk of these, every year and every month. And it's going to be, there's a lot of questions. I saw some people asking about the Christmas show. I would still like to do the Christmas show. We raised over $1,000 last December. I would like to continue doing that because that show's basically just a hang. We turn on the mics and, I would love to continue doing that. So we'll definitely, make plans to still do the Christmas shows at the end of the year. And maybe it won't be on Wrestleview, but we'll figure out a way to do it. Or I'll just talk to Paul more about it and see if he'd be comfortable with still having it part of Wrestleview.
Of course.
But okay, there you go. Thumbs up. There you go. You got your answer, everybody. But I guess I'll quickly say thank you to Mike for everything you've done for the website. You've really, really stepped up. We decided to have live recaps of Raw, 3 years ago? Was it maybe?
Longer, I think.
Maybe longer than that. And Dave Stevens was obviously killing it for us, but his schedule started to change. And Mike was super consistent. Mike has been one of the most consistent staff members in the history of this website. And he stepped up for us, offered to start covering Raw, and not only covering it, but committing to 3 fucking hours every Monday night. And that's a big commitment. So thank you to Mike, and I look forward to seeing what you do next in the coming months here with the website. And Victoria, first and foremost, I have to thank you for putting up with all this Wrestleview bullshit, because Molly fucking hates wrestling, and you, the fact that you like wrestling, you have more of an understanding than your average wife, I think.
Your wife should talk to my wife.
Exactly. Most situations are not as unique as Mike's. So thank you first and foremost for putting up with this crazy schedule, because Paul was just talking about it. Stuff would just happen and at the drop of a hat, and you have to stop life, and it's a crazy way to live life. But thank you for putting up with that. And I also have to say I'm super proud of the work you've been doing with the podcast. I was so happy when I heard you on the Triple H conference call and how well you handled yourself. And that was your first time doing that. And a lot of people would just freak out and stumble. And you did such a good job, and you were such a good representation of our website. So very, very proud of the work you've been doing, and I hope it continues, and I'll be watching, and thank you for contributing to the website, because it's something we always wanted to do and try to figure out. And I'm glad we were able to figure that out and make it happen. So good job, Victoria. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for everything.
Absolutely. And also quickly, I want to thank Doug. Doug, I feel like a dick. I did not set up a scene for another guest. Maybe I'll dive bomb a Wrestleview Weekly, and we'll talk and do something. But thank you to Doug for my podcasting life, and I'll make this very brief because I know we're going long, but I started doing stuff with Paul, actually, on Lycos Talk Radio. And then I started doing stuff with Trey and JSK on Wrestling News Live. And then when that show ended, I started doing a mixed martial arts podcast with my brother. And then when that ended, Wrestling News Live came back. And then the VIP section came into creation. And then when the VIP section died, I didn't do anything for podcasting for a while. And then Doug was like, hey, let's just do something on YouTube. And that's how Wrestleview Live was kind of created. And Doug has been huge for that, and been super supportive. Doug has given a lot of his time for that, and I thank Doug so much. And Doug, let's definitely do something on a Wrestleview Weekly where we can talk about it more and more depth and more detail. I'm just stumbling over my words because I didn't plan any of this. But thank you, Doug, for doing that. I really appreciate it. And then lastly, Paul, obviously, you decided to pick me. I have no idea why. I was hanging out with Kevin Lowry, and you were like, yeah, sure, come on in. And I thought that was crazy of you to do that. You just did it at the drop of a hat. It was really, really impressive that you did that. So thank you so much. And for everything you've done, all the avenues that you've created for me with this website, and the creativity you've allowed, and everything. It's been so amazing. Obviously, I will say more to you off the air, but I wanted to take a little moment to say that. So thank you to everybody, and I will continue to reply if you reach out. And thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And I'm going to close the show. I forgot. Sorry. I was waiting for Mike to say something. I'm like, oh, fuck. Mr. V just said it perfectly. I'm officially dismissed. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. And like I said at the very end of my statement, it's not goodbye forever, but it is goodbye for now. So thank you very much. And I will see you guys all very, very soon. Bye.